Let me open our service with these words. Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come and you shall know peace and joy. Thank you. Who's lighting our chalice this morning?
I am.
Okay.
The reading I found is about the winter solstice, which this year is Thursday, December 21st. Do I need the mic? Okay, this is by John Matthews, who is a lecturer on Celtic and Arthurian traditions. The solstice is a time of quietude, of firelight and dreaming, when seeds germinate in the cold earth, and the cold notes of church bells mingle with the chimes of icicles. Rivers are stilled, and the land lies waiting beneath a coverlet of snow. We watch the cold sunlight and the bright stars, maybe go for a walk in the quiet land. All around us, the season seems to reach a standstill, a point of repose.
Thank you, Greta. That was a wonderful reading. Thank you. Who is the author again?
John Matthews.
John Matthews. Okay, thank you. Join with me, please. We light
this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace.
We'll continue our service with our offerings. And Terry and Pat are going to come up here and we're going to play Deck the Halls. And it's in your hymnal. I'm not sure what number.
235.
What is it?
235.
235. We want you to sing real loud so you won't hear all our mistakes on the guitars that we're making. Because we just rehearsed this morning. Come on, Terry.
Yeah.
245. So sing out. Now the words in there, troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Does anybody know what troll means? Troll the ancient Yuletide carol? Anybody know what that means? Well, I mean, you know what the word trolling means today in our society, but I looked it up in the dictionary. Google says trolling is when you sing with your whole voice after you've had 2 or 3 glasses of eggnog. So
where's the eggnog?
yeah, we need eggnog. Okay, here we go. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, la 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 la. That's the way the old year passes, la 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 la. Hail the new lads and lasses, la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, la la la. Heedless of the wind and weather, la la. Everybody, la la la. I'm glad it was you, not me. Okay. Join with me, please, in our offertory response to the work of this fellowship, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community. We dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. Now, our reading is 542. I don't think it's a responsive reading, but you want to look at it anyway, you can. Now I want you to think about this reading, and I want to, after we read it, I want to give a few moments for you to respond. The title is Solstice. Again did the earth shift, and again did the night grow short, and the days long. And the people of the earth were glad and celebrated, each in their own ways. Diane Lee Mooney, she's a poet. Mooney, I guess is the way you pronounce that. Just anybody have anything that jumps out at you when you read that really makes an impression on you or not? Doesn't have to, but.
The first line, again did the earth shift. That's pretty heavy stuff. Earth shift?
The earth shifting. And we know that that's a more modern scientific thought. The earth is shifting, not the sun. We know the sun doesn't move, the earth is doing all the movement. Yes, Sally.
Well, you can't help but think of what people thought and how all creatures reacted as the days continued to get darker and darker and darker, and the feeling that the end was near, and then slowly but surely the sun came back.
Yes, and I really appreciate the words you used, all. I mean, I think about this as a very universal, natural human experience that we all share, as opposed to this idea that only one little tribe on the planet has all of the truth. You know what I mean? That it's a human, universal human experience. You use the word all. And I love that line, each in their own way. How does that strike you? Each in their own way.
Yeah, time to plant some seeds as a gardener.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that I can start planting onion seeds in January, and it won't be long till I'll be doing peas.
And I take it that for you, that's kind of a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So each in our own way, we celebrate this event. You know, some of us, for some of us, that's being out in nature in our gardens. For others of us, it's bringing a tree in the house and decorating it. Sally?
And all I wanted to include too, birds and animals coming out of hibernation, and I mean, it affects everybody.
Well, even the trees,
Excuse me?
even the plants and the trees
Yeah.
go through the cycle.
All of
Yes.
5 days.
All of nature.
All of
Yes.
nature.
All of nature. All right. That's it. Y'all have a good day. No, you gotta hear me preach. I'm sorry. I just had to. I love those responses, by the way. I mean, I think that's a very Unitarian or very Universalist reading there to me. It's very all-inclusive, you know. We're all in this. We're all in this together as one people. I love that. I put this out of a newspaper that is published out where I live in Fairview. It says, shop the season at Gratia Botanica. The Gratia Botanica has two T's in it, and they're enlarged in the form of a cross. And I thought, well, that's Beauty, Grace, Love at the Gift Market every Friday and Saturday from 12 to 5. But I thought that's really kind of a summation of the way we celebrate this time of season, by shopping and consuming and buying. And have you ever seen those videos where people or news thing where people are going to shop on a certain day where they have sales and they stampede? You ever seen that? Have you ever seen those where the people are fighting over a gift in the store? Have you ever been into like a big brand name store in, let's say, September, and you already see Christmas decorations out? You all, I don't need to preach to you about that, but it just seems like to me that we've lost touch. And I think to myself, well, you know, I think that's the way it's always been. I don't think that's anything new. I think that for the masses of humans, it's just, I hate to say this, but it's almost just like herding cattle. We're just herded like cattle. But every now and then, some cow steps out and says, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to just follow the crowds and run to the mall and beat up somebody because I want to give. I'm going to, kind of what Sally was saying in the reading, I'm just going to kind of shut down in a way, you know. I'm just going to be quiet, and I'm going to feel the cold. If it feels cold, I want to feel it on my face. And just say, it's cold. It's a dark night. You know, I just want to go with that, you know. And I don't really thinking about, you know, and I'll admit when I was a kid, all I thought about was what was I going to get for Christmas? And our grandson's the same way. What am I going to get? It's like, okay, that's all right. But anyway, Jesus said, be of the world but not of it. Be in the world but not of it. Be in the world, don't be of it. Anyway, have you ever seen those nativity scenes? They have the Mary and Joseph and Jesus you've seen those, they're everywhere, the creche scenes they call it. A nativity scene, and then they've got if they're going with the Gospel of Matthew, they got the shepherds over here. If they're going with Luke, no, I got that wrong. If they're going with Matthew, they're going with the three kings over here. If they're going with Luke, they got the three shepherds. Two different stories about all that happened on that day. The people who were there recording it didn't get it down with a pad. What was going on? Anyway, you see that nativity scene, and then there's one in Brevard, and it's over to the one side. You've got Santa Claus on the sled with the reindeer, and you've got snowman, Frosty the Snowman on this side, and then of course in the house, big picture when you got the Christmas tree up there. And if I didn't know any better, I would think that Santa Claus was born on Christmas Day. And Frosty the Snowman heralded the event. And Jesus is going to come riding in on his sleigh with all the gifts for the kids. If I didn't know any better, you know, our Christmas celebrations are really a mixture of pagan and Christian ideas that have just kind of been joined together. And most of us, like myself included, you don't think about all that. You know, it's like at Easter, you hide the eggs, you got the bunny rabbit, you're like, why do we do that? We just do it because everybody else is doing it. We follow the crowd, we just do that. When you think about it, though, our tradition is really a mixture of the pagan ideas, the Christian ideas. And so we're going to look at, this morning, look at the Yule event. And I didn't know much about Yule, very little. When I think Yule, I think, the thing that comes to my mind is the Yule log. I mean, what do you all think of? Anybody, when you think of Yule?
More eggnog.
Eggnog. Oh, yeah. But you know, Yule has become Yuletide has become interchangeable with Christmas, basically. But how many of you know where Yule originated, where it came from? Lane?
It's a pagan Yule tradition. You light it, I can't remember what day, but you light it and you leave it lit, and it's supposed to protect your house from evils coming in over a period of time.
And yeah, right. What country did it arrive? Do you know what country it came from? What planet? What part of the planet? Norse, German, Germanic. And that log, you know, why is that log, the Yule log, if you go back and look at some of the images of Yule log, that Yule log is huge. It's not this little teeny thing. It's, like Lane said, it's got to burn for how many days? It's got to burn for 12 days. 12 days of Christmas. The Yule log has to burn those 12 days. So it has to be a huge, if you look at the big, huge log, and there's lots of people dragging it up because it has to stay lit for 12 days. And some of that intended to keep away the evil spirits. But some of it, it mimics the sunlight. It's the sun, it's the log giving off the sunlight. And that's, in essence, what wood is doing. It's absorbed all that energy from the sun, and when it burns, it's just giving that light, that sunlight back. So in their minds, it was just this little piece of sunshine down here burning for 12 days. And for the ancient Germans, it also was a way to predict the future. And they would count the sparks. They'd sit and each family would watch the sparks fly off of that log. And each spark represented a new pig that would be born in the coming year. There's really something that's vitally important to understand when you try to wrap your mind around what we call paganism. And unfortunately, that word has pejorative meanings today. If you're a pagan, somehow you're a heathen or you're a barbarian. But really, when you think about paganism, it's really naturalism. It's a religion, it's a faith, it's a spirituality that grows up out of life, out of nature, out of human. You know, it's unlike, you always want to compare a natural religion with a revealed religion. Because a revealed religion says it's a special revelation. It's given only to a few chosen people. They have it, and you don't. That's the difference between a natural religion that grows up naturally and universally from the people, from the earth, from the soil, as opposed to a religion that's based on a historical revelation that only a few have it and the rest don't. You know, one of the things that really bothered me at a very young age, I remember when I was in my teen years, later my teen years, it really, really bothered me, this Christian belief that only a chosen few people went to heaven and everybody else went to hell. That bothered me. I didn't like that. So you're telling me that 3/4 of the earth's population is going to hell because they are not, they've not bought into this revealed special religion. So think about that. You think you have a spirituality that grows up out of nature. You see it all around you. You see it in the movement of the sun and the stars, the trees. You see it, you know, when I was coming down here this morning, I was pretty depressed because it's raining, it's gray, all the leaves or down on the trees, it's like, oh man, this is not, I love I'm a sun worshiper. I love the sun. So it was coming down here, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, there's one thing that still has color in it, and it's the evergreen. And the evergreen is a reminder to our ancestors that this life goes on. And when everything else is dying around it, it's still alive. It's still living. It's eternal. It's a symbol, becomes a symbol, the holly and the ivy, the Christmas tree, all symbolic of eternal life. And that's why we bring the Christmas tree goes back not to necessarily Germanic, but goes back to Asia, and was represented the god Attis. And the tree was actually the mother that gave birth to Attis and Adonis. So that's where that tradition comes from. It comes from a pagan ritual of decorating the tree in remembrance of Attis, who was died and resurrected and represents eternal life. So back to Yule. To understand Yule, to grasp Yule, the meaning of Yule is to understand the sun, because it's a winter solstice. The eternal sun, winter solstice. We have that quote. Not only our earth, ourselves, our own spiritual life, from our first blinking at the light to our highest religions and moral feelings are born and nurtured of the sun. There is not a religion that I know of, when you trace its origins, it doesn't go back to the worship of the sun. Now understand that for our ancestors, the sun was not the way we see it today. It was just not a ball of fire that's up there, a star that we're going around. For our ancestors, the sun was a living, animated God with a will. It was not dead matter for our ancestors, for our pagan ancestors. It was a living thing. But think about that. We wouldn't exist if the sun didn't shine. We would not be here without the sun. Now the sun and the earth could live without us, but we can't live without the sunlight. So our ancestors were deeply aware of what they owed to the natural forces around them, particularly the sun. Of course, they were very aware, too, of the destructive powers of the sun, represented by the face of the lion in mythologies that devours and consumes. So they were aware of the double nature of the sun, that it can be beneficial and good, it could also be destructive. But they worship the sun. You all know about Stonehenge? And there's lots of theories about what Stonehenge was built for, but one of those theories was winter solstice. So you stand up these huge stones in a circle, and you begin to celebrate on this first night of winter solstice. And you drink your eggnog, and you sing your carols, and there's lots of merriment, lots of joy, and you're waiting for 12 days, and you're in such anticipation for that 12th day. You have a sacrifice. You sacrifice some goats. You eat the meat. It's a very fun 12 days, but you're anticipating that 12th day. So you build a structure, this huge, massive structure. And on the darkest night of winter, you're waiting there on tiptoe in expectation for the dawning of the next morning, which is the new sun. And when it dawns, when it comes up behind the mountain and it shines into that structure, it shines right into a little spot. And when it hits that spot, your heart just leaps inside of you when it hits that spot. Because you know that when it hits that spot, it's telling you spring is on its way. That God has entered the temple. God has entered the temple, and the light hits the wall, and your expectations are fulfilled. The spring is going to come. Now, the important thing is to remember about that is they didn't see that as such just a natural event. They saw that as an event that occurred because of their rituals and their sacrifices. So they believed there was this deep connection and affinity between their rituals and their rites and what the sun would do. Now, in the sun god, in the cult of the son of Mithra, they sacrificed the bull because the sun was in the zodiac sign of Tarsus. So they believe, now this is just a theory, they believe they sacrificed the bull at winter solstice. The bull's spirit go up to heaven and butt the sun up so it wouldn't fall any further. Because they felt like if it fell any further, they'd be doomed. They live in darkness. So the spirit of the bull would butt the sun up and it would rise again. So they believed, not like we believe today, that their rituals had this power to create these cosmic movements of the sun. There's another one from, it's Greek, and I want to show you that this is a Greek version of, if we can, Elise has worked real hard on to get this. I appreciate her doing this, if we can get it. Oh, that's good.
Mist clears, day dawns, the first day dawns, breaking dim and universal night. Orpheus sings, and singing brings us light. Across the sky, the great and golden egg hangs like an oblong sun about to burst, cracking amidst the orisons of those immortal beings, of living gods the first, the archetypes, as yet unseen, unknown, that are to come. The high-pitched, shuddering gong through nothingness resounds, primeval word, creation at the beginning of all worlds.
That's it. Thank you. We still talk about the crack of dawn, or the breaking of the dawn, that Egyptian notion that the whole world came from the birth of the sun god Ra, who was born out of the eternal egg. But I think I was trying to capture through music. I was trying to find a video on a sunrise that had some beautiful music to it, but I really couldn't find much. Because you know how music moves the soul and the emotions. But this is the closest one I could find to that. You know, to understand our ancestors, we can't go back this with our heads to understand our past. We have to go back with our feelings and our hearts and to know the depth of feelings and emotions that we have within us today. And that awe, that word A-W-E, awe, awesome. Really the awe of nature and the awe of life. The awe of the sun and its movement through the sky. The awe of the sun and our movements around the sun. And so our ancestors were deeply, deeply, deeply aware of what they owed to the environment around them and to nature. And I wonder sometimes if we've not lost that somehow in the mad rush that we are living today. And I think the effects of that are showing in global warming and what we're doing to the planet. My grandson said to me the other day, he said, Pop, he said, how do you feel when you cut down a tree? And I said, well, I kind of feel sad, but I just thought that in the moment because we cut down a privet hedge that was growing in front of our tool shed last fall, and he cried. And he said, his tears streamed down his eyes. He said, I don't want you to cut that tree down. And I thought, well, we all have that child in us that has that profound connection to the natural world around us. Another thing for our ancestors is they didn't make this distinction between human life, plant life, and animal life. That's only a late arrival in human evolution. But for our ancestors, there was no line separating them from the plants and the animals around them. There was this deep, deep connection. And I think we all still have that connection deep within us. But we get caught up. We get caught in that vortex of having and possessing and wanting and buying. And we get caught up in that. And we lose touch with that deep part of ourselves that has that closeness to nature, that affinity with nature. Our Declaration of Independence mentions the God of nature. Nature's laws. We follow nature's. We're a country. It was built on following nature's laws and the God of nature. So not talking about this God of some special revelation, but a God that comes up out of nature and our affinity with nature, our closeness to nature. So I want to end with this quote that one of the things I really have come to really appreciate about Universalists is that we're always trying to universalize our experience so that we can be more inclusive of every human person on this planet. And originally, Pat's a UU ministry. Originally, universalism had to do with the fact that all people were saved, right? Didn't that originate? But it's progressed from that, I think, to this sense that we want to universalize our human experience so that everyone, all people, are part of it and that we're all one. But I want to end with this quote from Lin Yutang, who says, no philosophy of life, I would say no spirituality of life, is complete. No conception of the human spiritual life is adequate unless we bring ourselves into satisfactory and harmonious relation with the life of the universe around us. I love that. Bringing ourselves into satisfactory and harmonious relation with the life of the universe around us. There's a recently developed phenomenon called Manhattan Henge. And it's, if you ever go to New York, maybe you'll see it, but you only have to go there during the equinox. New York City's building a grid except for one street in New York City. Anybody here from New York? And that street kind of runs diagonally across that grid. But during equinox at a certain just moment, you can see between the two skyscrapers the equinox, sun of the equinox come and be right in the middle of those two skyscrapers. And thousands of people, started out with just hundreds, but now it's thousands of people go to New York City during summer or fall equinox for that, just that little moment to see that sun in that, between those two buildings. Why do they do that? What makes them want to do that? Well, here's my theory. I think there's something deep inside of us that is so drawn to that moment. You know, it's such an awesome moment when the sun does that. It's just, we just want to see it, you know, even if it just lasts a moment, we want to see that. So check that out if you're ever up in New York City during the equinox. You'll see crowds of people, but you'll be able to see that sun move right into that little spot. You know, and the people go hog wild. One guy was interviewed on PBS and he said it's such a spiritual moment. That's what he said, a spiritual moment. Anyway, I'll leave you with those thoughts. And I hope you enjoy your Christmas. Drink lots of eggnog if you want to sing carols. Singing, I like that. Singing brings us life. So, in that video. Okay. Now, we're going to, boys are going to come up here and help me sing Jingle Bells. Key of G. Sing it with us, please. Ready? Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bride was sitting by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. We got into a drifted bank and then we got shot. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Thank you. I close with these words. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual, works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. That's from Theodore Parker. Now, we'll extinguish the chalice, and you'll join with me, please. We extinguish the flame of this chalice. Let us follow the light of truth until we meet again. And that is it. safe travel home. Happy holidays. Next service, January 7th, 2024. Does anybody have any comments, queries, or opposing viewpoints?
We have a dozen chickens. We lost 3 of them recently. So a neighbor who incubates the chicks gave us 3 winter chicks. And so in the back of our barn, we have 2 windows. And the sun crosses those windows and shines the sun down into the stall where we have these chicks. And for the last few weeks, I've been watching them chase that patch of sun. But unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, it lifted too high and they can't reach it. We do have a little heater in there, so that's but I'd love to reassure those chicks that that sun's going to come back.
That's called walking in the light. Thank you. Walking.
Follow the sun.
Follow the sun. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Here comes the system.
Here comes the sun. That's a nice song. I like that song. I failed to mention too that Santa Claus and a sled, reminiscent of the sun gods and their chariots that fly across the sky. All right then. Well, you all have a nice day, and